Hello everyone, welcome to another Guild Wars 2 video, but this is going to be in a little bit of a different style from what you guys are used to seeing from me. As you may have been able to tell from the title of this video, this is going to be about how I believe it's possible to have a fractal team comprised completely of warriors. That's right. I think that it is possible to go into a fractal, tier 4 fractals, using only warriors. And now some people say I'm biased towards Spellbreaker because I mean, my character's last name is Mage Hunter, and it always has been, even before Spellbreaker. But no, guys, this is about warriors. If you go in here with only Spellbreaker, you know, I love Spellbreaker, but they can't do everything. So if you go in here thinking that it's going to be all Spellbreaker stuff, you're wrong. That being said, there are a couple of Spellbreaker builds in here. So I want to give credit, a huge, enormous shout out to this Guild Wars 2 Skills website. It is gw2skills.net, and then you can go to the editor. It is so useful. So, you know, check these people out if you want to play around with builds and how it works and everything. Let's get into it. I was thinking about what roles might be valuable. And at first, when I started this out, I was thinking, well, maybe I can make a raid composition where 10 warriors go in. But the fact is, I'm just not experienced enough at raids to figure out exactly what you would want. Because I mean, I've only done many failed Veil Guardian attempts and a couple of failed Soulless Horror. Is that the first boss in Wing 5? I can't remember. But anyway, also a few failed attempts at that one too. Never gotten a single kill in a raid, but I have had a lot of experience with fractals, and so I do know what works and what doesn't work. So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk kind of like briefly about each build because it's going to take forever if I go as in depth as I usually do with my builds. But here we go. Here goes nothing. First is my standard axe build. I've actually advertised this build on my channel before, and it's the one that I always use in fractals. So if I were to ever go into a fractal with a team like this, I'd be playing this guy. You got dual axes. You also can use dual daggers as a secondary weapon set. It doesn't make too much of a difference. Sometimes I go hammer for extra crowd control, but it doesn't matter too much. That being said, we've got Natural Healing, Featherfoot Grace for a stun break. You got Bull's Charge and Kick for the peak performance. I've talked about this build so many times, guys. So if you want to see that, then just find the video. I've got a playlist on my channel about Guild Wars 2 builds. It's the dual axis Spellbreaker. Basically, you get Bull's Charge to trigger peak performance, and then you can go and just DPS the crap out of everything. Next, we've got Battle Standard as the elite skill. And I'm going to actually say that this is required for this team because it's kind of an auto revive, and you're going to need that here. So, plus there's another build that kind of really depends on having a lot of might, so that's what we're going to put on it. Next, for traits, we've got Strength, and in Strength we've got Peak Performance. That's really required if you want to get some damage out of this build. Great Fortitude gives you extra health, which helps you be a little bit more tanky. You don't have any extra toughness from the gear, which we will get into in a second, but if you can just stack up as much vitality as you can, then that's great. Also, Berserker's Power is to get that extra bit of damage. If you want to go Might Makes Right, if you're having a really hard time healing and the other builds are not doing their job properly, then you can go Might Makes Right. Sacrifice a bit of your damage. Next, we've got Discipline. Vengeful Return is pretty useful because if you go down and you need to use Vengeance, then there's a 100% chance you will revive. And it's really useful because a dead warrior is a useless warrior. So you don't want to be dead. So Sorry guys, I've been sick. Next, we've got Brawler's Recovery, so you can remove a few extra conditions. You could also go Inspiring Battle Standard. One thing you do not want to do is Destruction of the Empowered, because there are a couple of Spellbreaker builds in this team that I've comprised, and your enemies are never going to have boons. So this is going to be completely useless if you take it. So either Inspiring Battle Standard to help out your Battle Standard when you do the auto revive, or Brawler's Recovery. Personally, I recommend Brawler's Recovery because this build is not going to be focused on healing. We'll get into that in a little bit. But anyway, next we've got Axe Mastery, of course, because you got dual axes. If you wanted to use, for some reason, if you wanted to use dual daggers on your main hand, then you would definitely want to go Burst Mastery instead. It really helps with the adrenaline. However, Axe Mastery is perfect for this. Next, we've got the Spellbreaker, of course, and we've got Pure Strike to help you do extra critical damage, and of course you got tons of critical chance, so you're going to be doing even more. It's kind of like a ferocity boost. Next, we've got Sun and Moon Style. If you're taking the dual daggers, you can choose, if you don't really tend to use those, then you can use Loss Aversion, because you're going to be removing boons anyway, because you're a Spellbreaker, and you just naturally do that with all CC skills. And you could take that for a little bit of extra damage and adrenaline, and it's unblockable. And then definitely, I would consider this mandatory for this build, is Magebane Tether. That's for a ton of might generation, and it's going to especially help you get some passive healing if you take Might Makes Right. But also, this is still with the old Stick and Move trait, but also the power that it's going to give you is insane. It's going to give you 24 stacks of might, which means you're just going to be gaining a lot more power. So next we've got gear. So I'm in full Marauders gear, and this might be a little difficult to here, you know what, I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so it's easier for you guys to see even more. Here, this is better. Okay, so I've got full Marauders gear, and for sigils, I've got on the axes, I've got Superior Sigil of Cruelty, which gains you, it gets you ferocity every time you kill a foe. I find this to be really, really useful because it helps you build up to a maximum of 250 extra ferocity. Next, we've got Superior Sigil of Accuracy, which bumps your crit chance up to 71%. And Axe 2 gives you Fury, which means you're going to be up to 91% crit chance, which means 91% of your hits are going to be doing more than double damage. So, very, very useful. I put underwater weapons on here, but honestly, they don't really matter that much. It almost doesn't even matter what you use for that. Then we've got, oh, I just realized that I haven't chosen these, but the infusions. I'm gonna copy the style. Very useful. Okay, so, and then, oh, I didn't. Oh wow, how unprofessional! Look at this. Oh, and for the daggers, by the way, I've got the Accuracy, Superior Sigil of Accuracy, and Crest of the Assassin, going to help you get more critical hits in. If you switch, you're actually going to have slightly higher crit chance because of the Crest of the Assassin. You might be able to fiddle around with some sigils, and perhaps you can get the Sigil of Severance, which would work when you interrupt a foe. But anyway, I got Runes of the Spellbreaker, which is going to increase your power and precision, and then you deal 7% more damage to foes that have no boons. That's going to happen all the time in a team of 5 warriors with a couple of Spellbreakers in there. That's going to be all the time. Every single foe that you fight is going to have no boons, and you can count on that. So it's really awesome. For all of the infusions, I've got plus 5 power, so it ends up adding quite a bit of power. You've got, what, like 18 infusion slots? So, what, 18 times 5 is, I don't know, an extra 80. Is that right? Extra 80 power, something like that. I'm probably doing it wrong, but anyway, so next we've got the bowl of sweet and spicy butternut squash soup. I realize that this is expensive, but this is probably the best food. for this build, just power and ferocity. You don't really need any extra precision or anything, so you could perhaps do the straight. I was looking at this also. You could perhaps do the plate of jerk poultry. Just going to give you a flat power bonus, which could work well. And that's probably cheaper. I haven't checked the price of that, but either way, this is the one I have set. And then the superior sharpening stone for extra power based on your precision and ferocity. So that's going to be, and that basically does it for this build. Okay, so this is your main power DPS build. Okay, so that's it. You've got just a couple of conditions, not a lot. You got quite a bit of boons, right? But you don't really need to worry about your own boons, because when you use your healing skill, you're going to be removing everything. Look at all of this crowd control that you've got here. Look at this. You got blowout. I don't know what that is. I don't know how you get peak. Oh, it's from the launch thing. Yeah, I get it. It's a launch thing that you do when you take fall damage. Anyway, and you also have a stun break in there. Okay, so just this is the first build. Okay, that's the main thing. Alright, so moving on to the second build, we've got another DPS build, but this is for conditions. Okay, so this is a slightly modified version of Quantify's condition DPS Berserker build. Slightly modified because it's going to play with this team composition, which is going to be pretty cool. So, of course, like you do when you run Condi Berserker, you run Sword Torch, and that's going to give you lots of burning here. You got Blood Reckoning, also Longbow as your secondary weapon. Blood Reckoning is going to give you healing based on your outgoing damage, which is really good. And since you're doing a lot of damage through conditions, I believe it also triggers that. I believe the conditions also trigger the healing. I'm not exactly sure, but how long does it take? It lasts 5 seconds. So for 5 seconds, as much damage as you can do. Pretty cool. Next, we've got Outrage, which is a stun break, and I love the idea of this skill. Honestly, it's one of my favorite Berserker skills. You just you break out of a stun, you gain a bunch of adrenaline, and you inflict burning on nearby foes because of a trait. Okay, so it doesn't get much better than that. It's a pretty cool skill. And it can be used every 10 seconds. So very frequent stun break. I'd say it's a really useful one. The condition DPS build on Quantify has you running what is it? Signet of Precision or Signet of Fury. Okay, and that's for extra adrenaline gain and more critical hits and stuff. But instead, what I have you running is Banner of Strength, and that's because we're going to need that. We're going to need that, and we can actually gain all 4 banners using this team, but we need the Berserker to run one. So we've got that. Next, we've got Shattering Blow, and of course, the reason for this is you're going to, I mean, it's a slight block, right? It inflicts some bleeding, and then the main reason for this is so you can immediately transition into your headbutt, which is awesome CC. It's pretty good CC. It's also a stun break, but it's funny because it breaks out of a stun, but then it stuns you for 1 second, so kind of funny. But yeah, and then it also, since it's a rage skill, it inflicts burning on nearby foes. So and then it also gives you 30 adrenaline, so very useful. You guys are probably already familiar. If you're a warrior main, you probably are already familiar with the rotation of this, so I'm not going to really go over this. As for the traits, we've got Empowered, so increased damage for every boon on you. You're going to have lots of boons on you because the whole team of warriors, and you got some supportive warriors that are going to be buffing you up and stuff. So then you got Burning Arrow, where your longbow auto attack inflicts burning, which is pretty cool. It also reduces recharge of your longbow skills. And then Powerful Synergy. So you've got a combo field, and then you've also got let me see. You've also got a blast finisher and a leap finisher. Okay, so you know, those can synergize well, and you can. I don't know a whole lot about combo fields honestly, but it beats the other ones I would say Phalanx Strength would be good, but the fact is I don't think you really have a ton of might generation on this. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but I'm pretty sure you don't have a ton of might generation on this. So, you know, there's that. But you could very well run a variant of the build, the Phalanx Strength build, that has a lot of might generation and really help out the party with that. But next we're running arms, and we've got gaining expertise based on your precision, so you end up getting quite a bit of expertise because you're going to be running Viper's Gear, which it's actually one of the minor stats is precision, so you're getting quite a bit of precision still, and you're converting that to expertise. Next you got Blade Master, and you are of course wielding a sword, so it's going to reduce the recharge and increase duration of conditions that they inflict, which it only inflicts bleeding. That's really the only thing that the main hand sword inflicts. That's a damaging condition. The Savage Leap, it inflicts cripple, but it's not. I mean, it's not a crazy condition. It's just going to slow them down, and a lot of foes are already like stationary anyway. So next we've got Furious, which grants you bonus adrenaline and a stacking condition damage effect. I don't know what the cap of this is. I haven't had much experience with this, but pretty cool. So you're gaining extra condition damage whenever you get a critical hit. And you're going to be gaining, well, not a ton of critical hits, but a third of your hits are going to be critical hits. So it's not quite as critical hit heavy as the Dual Axe Spellbreaker, but still not bad. And then lastly, the Berserker, of course, where you got Last Blaze, and when you use a rage skill, it just inflicts burning on nearby foes. Heat of the Souls, where you get condition damage while wielding a torch, and your recharge is reduced. So you're going to be able to just very quickly go through the rotation of all of these weapons here. Pretty useful. Next, we've got King of Fires, and increase the duration of burning you apply, and you gain a fire aura when you critically hit an enemy. So, basically, and Berserker skills detonate the fire aura, which damages and burns nearby foes. It's pretty cool. So, 33% duration increase of burn, and then you get a fire shield on a critical hit, where whenever they strike you, 1 second cooldown per attacker. Whenever they strike you, you gain might, and they get burnt. And then if you use a Berserker skill, then it inflicts burning on nearby foes. So 3 stacks. It's pretty cool. I know I basically just read that verbatim, but that's what it does. Next, we've got the equipment. So we've got all Viper's gear, except I have, for some reason, Soldier on here. That's because underwater weapons don't matter. We've got all Viper's gear, and we've got the Superior Sigil of Malice for both weapons, and the Superior Sigil of Geomancy. What this is going to do is increase your condition duration, and then also make it so you inflict bleeding on all nearby foes for 10 seconds when you swap to this weapon. When you swap between weapons. It's on both of the weapons, so you're just going to be constantly inflicting bleeding. Next, we've got Rune of the Renegade. This is basically the same as the Quantify build, the Kanji DPS. Rune of the Renegade gives you more condition damage and ferocity. It's very, very straightforward. And then, of course, for the infusions, if you can afford that many, you want the condition damage infusions. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the consumables. So the rare veggie pizza is going to give you extra expertise and condition damage. Very useful. Just conditions you apply are just going to be so much longer. Basically, you're gonna have double duration of bleeding and burning, which are basically the only conditions you're going to be applying. So just double duration, just flat out awesome. Next, we've got Toxic Focusing Crystal, which, if you can afford it, which really just increases your condition damage based on power and precision. And with Viper's gear, power is the primary stat, and precision is a minor stat. so gaining quite a bit of condition damage. So that is the Condi DPS build for this team that I composed. Next, okay, because everybody knows about that build, and if you watch my channel, you already know about the dual axe build. Next, we've got the Banner Warrior, okay, the Banner Support Warrior. This is not a healing warrior, it is a support warrior, okay. So, as for weapons, okay, this is a Spellbreaker, by the way. And as for weapons, we've got Dagger and Warhorn. I believe I have talked about this build. I don't know how many views the video got, but I have talked about this build on my channel before. But I've actually finalized it now. So we've got Dagger Warhorn. What this is going to be doing is it's going to be removing boons, as for the Dagger, and with the Warhorn, it's going to be removing conditions from your party. This is really important. Very, very important, okay? And then you've also got a mace as the secondary weapon. What that does is provides more CC, and it also removes boons still, and it also provides the support warrior with a little bit more of a defensive option, because not only does it have CC, it's got a block, and it's got vulnerability. And the vulnerability is going to come in a lot of handy, especially if you've got this power DPS running dual daggers, doing Blade Storm. That's going to be 14 vulnerability. Then you've got this with a block, and then we've got another Shout Warrior that uses On My Mark for another 10 vulnerability, which means you're going to actually be capped out on vulnerability. So, yeah, so those are the weapons. Very kind of straightforward. If you're a warrior, you already know what these weapons do. Pretty familiar for a lot of warriors, I think. Next, we've got Natural Healing, which of course is going to help out with just being a huge, big heal. Featherfoot Grace is going to help out with resistance. So, and also, you may notice, it's more than 5 seconds of resistance. It's actually 8 1/4 seconds of resistance. So, that's really good. It's going to give you complete immunity from conditions for 8 whole seconds, almost 1/3 of the time. Not only that, you can also remove conditions, and I believe there's another warrior that actually runs Warhorn in this group, so basically you're not going to be vulnerable to conditions at all. Next, we've got the Banner of Defense, and as you can see, it's applying regeneration, and as you might also be able to see, the regeneration is for 5 3/4 seconds, but the interval is every 3 seconds. And this is important because what it means is that even though the banner lasts for 90 seconds, and even though the banner lasts for 90 seconds and it recharges in 120 seconds, you are actually able to maintain 100% regeneration uptime, no problem. So basically, in 90 seconds, you've got 30 applications of regeneration. 30 times 5 3/4 seconds is going to be 172 seconds of regeneration. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically you've got you've got 1723 heal from that regeneration times 30 applications of it, and it's going to heal for 51,690 just like that. Okay, there are also other ways to increase that number. For example, the Banner of Tactics. Okay, extra boon duration for the regeneration and extra healing power, so each tick heals you more. Okay, this is going to be doing the entire party, and you can't maintain 100% uptime of the benefit from Banner of Tactics, but you can maintain 100% regeneration, and if you need some emergency regeneration, you can also use your Battle Standard. That's also really meant for the insta revive. But yeah, so that's essentially what you want to run there as far as skills. For traits, we've got Discipline, Vengeful Return, because remember, a dead warrior is a useless warrior. So in I think most of the builds that run Discipline, I have them running Vengeful Return. So, you know, if you have to do that. Next, we've got Inspiring Battle Standard. For this build, it's required don't even think about taking something else. This is what the build centers around. So that's what you want to take. Makes all your banners apply regeneration. Lastly, we have Burst Mastery. It's going to help with not regeneration. It's going to help with adrenaline because this build has problems with regeneration. Yeah. So next we've got Tactics. We've got Quick Breathing, another thing that's required because if you're running Warhorn, then you're going to want your Warhorn skills first of all to recharge quickly, and second of all remove conditions. If they don't do those two things, they're not that useful. Okay, next we've got Empower Allies, which is a straight up 150 points of power to all of your allies, which is insanely good. And then we've got Phalanx Strength. And because of Phalanx Strength, because of Magebane Tether, you're granting your entire party lots of might. And not only that, because you're running Tactics, if you have 25 stacks of might, that's an extra 250 healing power. So keep that in mind. Next, we've got Spellbreaker, and this is pretty useful here. So we've got Guard Counter, so you can get some extra protection, and remember you're getting extra boon duration. I haven't gone over equipment yet, but we've got extra boon duration for that protection, so after a successful full counter you get a full 5 seconds of it. Next we've got Sun and Moon Style, and this is really just for the main hand dagger, but if you mainly find yourself running mace, then you could easily take Loss Aversion, which makes you deal more damage and gain adrenaline when you remove boons, which mace has a lot of capability to do. But for the main hand dagger, we basically have you applying quickness to yourself. So pretty useful there. Lastly, we have Magebane Tether. I'd say this is required because for each stack of might you gain more healing power, which is going to increase the potency of your regeneration. It's just going to help out so much. Okay. Lastly, for gear, okay, gear is full Harriers gear. All right, Harriers is a little difficult to acquire because it just came out with Path of Fire, especially Ascended Harriers gear. But I would consider it required for this build. It's very, very, very useful. We've got, for the dagger, well, I should say for the main hand. For the main hand weapon, we've got Superior Sigil of Renewal, which is basically where you heal nearby allies when you swap weapons. So you're going to be trying to swap your weapons a lot. You run Warhorn on both weapon slots, so you can use the same one, and it won't affect your ability to remove conditions from nearby allies. So that's what you're going to want. It's just going to heal nearby allies every time you you swap weapons, and it does have an internal cooldown of 9 seconds, but yeah, but it's going to happen like every 2 weapon swaps about if you just consistently swap weapons. Next, we've got Superior Sigil of Transference on the Warhorn, which increases your outgoing healing effectiveness by 10%, so very useful. Because anytime you're applying regeneration, it's going to be that much more effective. So, gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so congested right now. So, next we've got all of the infusions are healing power, just so you guys know. And then all of the armor is, of course, Harrier. We have the Superior Runes of Duena. Okay, this is going to increase your healing power and your regeneration duration. Okay, so not only do you have the concentration for the straight up boon duration, but you've also got a whole bunch of extra regeneration duration. So it's going to increase the regeneration duration by 30%, it looks like. Yeah, 30%. In addition to like having a chance to grant regeneration to yourself for 10 seconds. So so good. Just amazing rune for this set. Then for consumables, we've got the Delicious Rice Balls, which increase your outgoing healing effectiveness by 10% and plus 100 healing power. And then we've got the Bountiful Maintenance Oil, which increases your outgoing healing for every 100 healing power and concentration. And remember, you have lots of healing power and concentration. So, you know, it's not going to... It's not like an enormous buff, but it can be, okay? So you've got like 1300 healing power, for example. 1300 healing power times 0.6. You got 780 times, hold on, no, that's times 0.006. Okay, it's 7.8% extra outgoing healing from your healing power, and then plus, sorry, I'm just doing this quick calculation because I don't want to get it wrong. Plus your concentration is, it's going to be 900 for the purposes of the calculation. 900 times 0.008. So you are going to be getting a total of an extra 15% outgoing healing from that. So super good, very, very selfless healer warrior build. But this is not even the healer warrior build. This is just support warrior build. This is meant to be removing conditions and applying regeneration. The healing warrior build comes next. So with this one, we've got, once again, Warhorn. But we've also got a shield. Okay, a shield is just for defense, because this is mainly going to be a healing build. So you don't need to have the Warhorn, but you do have it in case you need to support that support warrior. In case there's just a ton of conditions, then you can just continuously remove and remove and remove endlessly. It's just so good. And familiar warriors might notice the other shout skill we've got going. This one is not a spellbreaker or a berserker. This is core warrior. We've got To the Limit. This build, actually, I don't know if a variant of this build existed at game launch, but I constructed this build just recently and I love it. So we've got To the Limit, which is going to, first of all, heal nearby allies and give them 50 endurance. That is a whole dodge. That's an entire dodge. Second of all, you're going to fill up your adrenaline completely. Okay, that's super useful because you're not doing a ton of damage. But if you really need to use that skull crack, you know, it helps. Second of all, you may, I don't know if I just said this or not, you may have noticed that it heals all nearby allies for 3,000. That is a lot. That is a lot of healing. Okay. It's a lot of healing for you to just be able to do in 1 second. And then also for every other shout skill. For Great Justice is next. So I believe you get a lot of boon duration on this. I might be mistaken. Perhaps it's... Yeah, no, you don't get any extra concentration on this. You could perhaps use Harrier's Gear, but instead I chose to go full healing power. So you're gaining some boon duration here. It increases the Fury and Might duration. But the main thing is that first of all, you're going Might Makes Right, which means that you are going to be healing for 6 times the 168. You're going to heal yourself for that. And then also you're going to heal all your nearby party members for 3,095. Okay. So next we've got Shake It Off. It's an extra condition removal for when you're running your shield. You're trying to be super defensive with the shield stance and the shield bash and everything. And oh crap, the support warrior's Warhorn skills are on cooldown. No problem. Shake it off. Whole party gets healed. Whole party gets conditions removed. And it breaks stun as well. Also amazing. Super awesome. And it can be used every 20 seconds. Keep that in mind. And lastly, we've got On My Mark. Now this is actually a shout skill with very good usability, very good accessibility. The count recharge is 24 seconds, which is the same as To the Limit. But if you just need some extra vulnerability and extra heal that you need to pop off really quick, you can use On My Mark, and you only have to wait 4 seconds before you can use the other count, and it's just gonna pop that heal really quick. Imagine how your whole party is low on health. Imagine if there's one guy dead, one of the DPS guys is dead, and everybody else is low on health. To the Limit, for Great Justice, Shake It Off, On My Mark. That's going to heal everybody for 12,400 about. In addition to healing you for a crap ton, because you also healed from For Great Justice and To the Limit. And then you pop Battle Standard and revive that DPS guy. You completely saved your party. Now, What's more likely is that this is going to be more of an upkeep, and that you're going to be kind of like slowly working on this, but it could happen. And I love the idea that the warrior is capable of doing this. So, with the traits, we've got tactics. Okay, tactics is kind of a must if you're going to be using any kind of support build on warrior. So we've got quick breathing, of course, which buffs the warhorn. We've already talked about it. Next, we've got shrug it off, which is an automatic shake it off when you get a condition. Okay, and I believe it also applies the healing, so it's just a free group heal as soon as you get a condition on you. And it's automatic, which means that it's not like it takes some time and the support warrior is going to remove it before you get a chance to use this ability and heal your party. So you're going to heal a party, right? Let's say a condition gets applied to the whole party. You use Shake It Off automatically, which removes it from yourself and everyone else, and it heals them automatically. Then if you have any more conditions, that leaves it up to the support warrior. And next we got Vigorous Shouts. This is a must, an absolute must. Shouts recharge quickly, and they heal nearby allies. Okay, it's an absolute must for this build. If you don't have this, it doesn't work at all. Next we've got we've got Strength. We're taking the Strength line. Okay, and then you've got Restorative Strength, which grants you 5 stacks of might when you use a heal skill, which means when you use to the limit, right, you're gaining the 10,800 health base, plus you're applying 5 stacks of might to yourself, and since you're using Might Makes Right, you're also healing yourself for another, I don't know, like 700, not 750, what am I even saying? What is 100? I've got to do this. 168 times 5 is 840 health. Okay, so you're healing yourself for like basically the same as natural healing, except it recharges slightly faster, because natural healing, I believe, recharges in 25 seconds. So, very cool. I love this skill in this build. Next, you've got Great Fortitude, and this is going to help because you're not very tanky. Wait, actually, you have a little bit, actually. Yeah, you have some toughness. So you can actually take, you can actually be kind of tanky here. But mainly you're taking the Power to Vitality because the other 2 traits don't really work well with this. I suppose you could take Forceful Greatsword, but I don't really want to get into that. So this is just a specific thing that I composed. I just want to talk about what I did. So then of course Might Makes Right, and it's pretty important. The Merciless Hammer doesn't really work well with this build. Neither does Berserker's Power. You may notice also that this is a Core Warriors build. I believe I already said that. Yeah, I already said that. But anyway, last trait line is Defense, which we're going to run Shield Master to buff our shield, where we can reflect projectiles, we can gain more might, which will heal us, reduces the recharge of shield skills. Next we got Defy Pain, where if you're struck below half health, automatic endure pain, and it's actually going to last for 5 seconds because of Last Stand. Okay, so yeah, so cool damage mitigation there, plus Adrenal Health is a passive heal for yourself. Lastly, we have Last Stand, which makes your stances last longer. That's not gonna be super important. It just makes it so you get some stability when you need it. On a 40-second cooldown, automatic balanced stance. You could potentially use Cleansing Ire. Really, this last thing you could take any one of them. Rousing Resilience could work if you wanted to use the Shake It Off when you break your stun and things like that. But anyways, what I've got is Last Stand, and I think it would work pretty well. Lastly, we have equipment. Okay, so we've got full Cleric's gear, and probably you don't see a lot of builds with Warrior using Cleric's gear. That's because Warriors are not usually thought of as healers, but they can do it. So we've got, basically it's healing power as the main stat, and power and toughness as minor stats. Okay, and you're going to be running the same sigils as before. You've got the heal nearby allies on weapon swap and outgoing healing effectiveness increased by 10%. These numbers, by the way, on these skills probably are not exactly what they would be in the field when you're actually testing this, because you've got all these extra bonuses to outgoing healing effectiveness. So you've got that, and then all the infusions, by the way, are healing power. So you're gaining just a crap ton more healing power in addition. And then your runes are going to be runes of the monk. So it's going to increase your boon duration a little bit. And then it's going to increase your healing power by a great deal. So that's what you really want for this build. And then for consumables, we have the delicious rice ball. I believe this is on the other one as well, on the support warrior. Yeah, it's the same thing as the support warrior. The delicious rice ball is going to increase your healing power and whatnot. And the bountiful maintenance oil is going to increase your outgoing healing effectiveness. You could probably use something else, but this is probably the best thing that I've found. It's still going to give you a lot of extra outgoing healing. So that's it for the healing warrior. And last but not least, we've got a ranged damage build. Okay, ranged DPS build. This is a core warrior, and I put a lot of thought into this, and honestly, this is not really a required slot. You could easily go with, instead, you could go with my Dolyak build for like a real super tank. It's meant to pull in all the hits and everything. You could go with a more control-based warrior like my Dominating Maces Spellbreaker. But right now, I've got a main weapon set rifle warrior, and he's core warrior, and the idea is just that he's doing insane amounts of damage. Okay, so that's what we've got here. So we've got rifle skills. Warriors may need a little bit of a refresh on rifle skills, because usually we don't use rifles very often because they're not all that useful usually. But so basically, you've got on the auto attack, you just gain bonus adrenaline if your target is vulnerable. On the second attack, you apply 10 stacks of vulnerability. So you know, you gain bonus adrenaline there, and plus, due to a trait, you can actually gain even more adrenaline. The third skill is a volley, where you just fire 5 times in rapid succession. They also pierce, so they hit multiple targets, I believe. I don't know what pierce does, actually. I hadn't actually taken that into account, but I'll have to think about that. Next, we got brutal shot. That just basically shoots something at your foe. It immobilizes them, applies vulnerability, and you evade backward. Okay, so be careful about where you use this, because it can potentially make you evade off of a cliff. And lastly, we have a little CC skill, Rifle Butt, which is just gonna it's a melee skill. It's melee range, 130 range. So yeah, that's what we've got. And then of course the kill shot is the burst. A secondary weapon is the longbow. And I've just got that because it's just meant to be a ranged only build. So, you know, we'll see. But for utilities, we've got Healing Signet. Okay, and there's a reason I've got all these signets on here. As you can see, it gives you the stacking ferocity bonus. That's right, we're using Signet Master. So we've got the ferocity bonus. It's just going to give you a passive heal, which is pretty good. Got extra power, extra precision, and then lastly, we've got the Banner of Discipline. Now, you may have noticed by now that we've got all of the banners here, right? On our support warrior, we've got the Banner of Defense and Tactics. On the Berserker, we've got the Banner of Strength. Finally, on the ranged DPS build, we've got the Banner of Discipline. So, all of the warriors are going to have all of the buffs from all of the banners. And also some regeneration, which you guys will see, which is pretty cool. So, and then for the elite skill, we've got Signet of Rage. another ferocity bonus when you actually use it. So useful. And then if you have Fury, look at this right now. Fury would give you a 90, almost 98% chance to crit. So gaining Fury and then using Kill Shot with all that ferocity, where it's going to do all of that extra damage, like 250% extra damage, something like that. Super good. Next, we've got our traits. So for Discipline, we're running Crack Shot, and that is just to reduce the recharge of your rifle skills, makes it more potent, gives you more adrenaline. Okay. Next, we've got an Inspiring Battle Standard. That's so that your Banner of Discipline will grant a little bit of extra regeneration. That's to buff what the support warrior is already putting out. So you've got tons and tons of regeneration on the party. Lastly, we have Burst Mastery. You're going to need this because your core warrior has access to the +3 burst things only. There's no berserk mode, and because he's not a spellbreaker, if you have full adrenaline, he's going to use all the adrenaline. So you need Burst Mastery in order to maintain some kind of adrenaline. Ideally, you'd be building up adrenaline, build it up to tier 3, use Kill Shot, and then use Volley to get some extra adrenaline in. That would be the ideal. Okay. Next we got Strength. So we've got, I actually have Peak Performance. I don't know why. I really should be using like Restorative Strength, so that if you do use Healing Signet, you gain Might. I've got that. And then I've got Great Fortitude. It's going to give you some extra health, so you get 21,000 health. That's really the only thing that really works here. Then we've got Berserker's Power, and the cool thing about Core Warrior and Berserker, that they kind of have a small advantage over Spellbreaker here, because if you build up level 3 Adrenaline, then you use your Burst skill, then it's going to give you all 3 stacks of Berserker's Power, and you're just going to get 21% extra damage, you know, for 15 seconds, and then you can use another level 3 Kill Shot, like trigger all your signets really quick, and then use another Kill Shot. Be pretty cool. That's going to do insane damage. Absolutely insane. Lastly, we have Arms. So with Arms, you've got Signet Mastery. That's, of course, I mean, like, why would you not take that with this build? I would consider this required for this build, Signet Mastery. Gonna make your signets recharge faster. You get an automatic Signet of Might when you attack a foe below the threshold, 50%, which is gonna give you the ferocity bonus, and it makes your attacks unblockable for like 6 seconds or something. It doesn't say that here, but I know that's what it does. Okay, so extra little signet there. So you got 1 free from that, and then you got 4 right here. So level 3 Kill Shot to get your Berserker's Power. Build up your adrenaline by using all your signets, and then use Kill Shot again, and you got an insanely powerful attack. Next we've got Rending Strikes, and this actually has been changed where burst skills inflict vulnerability 5 stacks guaranteed, and then another 5 stacks if it's a critical hit. So you've been inflicting more vulnerability. Basically, this team of 5 warriors is going to have no problem maintaining 25 vulnerability all the dang time. So no need to worry about any of that. And lastly, we have Burst Precision, which means that your burst skills have 100% chance to critical hit. That's really the only useful one here. But just that for that extra little tiny bit of certainty, even if you had Fury, you'd have a 97.9% chance to critical hit. But with this trait, it means that it's actually 100% chance to critical hit. So there you go. And then lastly, we have the gear, and we've got full Berserker's gear. This is kind of a cool. Honestly, this is a kind of a cool build if you have a guild and you've got a warrior that is on a free-to-play account and only has access to core stats and stuff like that. Then they can definitely easily take this build, and it will work very well for them. So we've got full Zerker stats on everything, and then for sigils, just straight up 5% damage, 7% crit chance. just straight up. For infusions, we have precision to increase your crit chance. You could potentially go with something else such as power. Easily you could go with power. But I've just got precision for more guaranteed crits. So that's what we got there. For runes, we've got Superior Runes of the Eagle, which is going to increase your precision and ferocity. And then plus 6% damage against targets with less than 50% health. So, and judging by the other DPS builds we got in this team, they're going to be below 50% pretty quickly. And then you're doing 6% extra damage versus them. And then the Spellbreaker over here is doing 7% extra damage because they have no boons. And does this have a damage? No, then the Berserker's just doing plus straight up plus 7% extra condition damage. In addition to the other bonuses. And then, yeah. So, just crap tons of damage buffs. Lastly, we have consumables. I've got the Plate of Roasted Cactus, which increases your ferocity by 100 and plus 33% chance to cause might on criticals. So, you gain so many critical hits. And so, basically, 1/3 of your hits is going to 1/3 of your hits is going to give you might, and the might is really good. I don't think. Oh, we are running strength, which means you're gaining more power from the might. So very, very cool. If you have 25 stacks of might, this is just gonna do so much. Like this against a low armor target, 8,100 is what it lists right now, but that's without critical hitting. It's insane. It's gonna do so much. And then lastly, we've got the Furious Sharpening Stone. So you gain power based on 3% of your precision and ferocity based on 3% of your precision. So more base power and more damaging critical hits. So guys, that is basically my combination. I believe that it would be very, very possible to do your tier 4 fractals. I might even venture to say possibly level 100 or 99. I believe that it would be very, very possible to do your tier 4 fractals with all 5 warriors, and I think it would be really, really fun too. You know, and you got 5 different gear sets, right? You know, each warrior is really decked out to specialize in a certain thing. You know, you got 3 DPS. You got a core DPS, a core warrior DPS, berserker condition damage DPS, and you got a spellbreaker DPS. That's also going to be removing some boons and stuff like that, and doing the peak performance and all that. And then you've got the support warrior giving constant regeneration, and you've got the heal warrior giving you constant health. And also all the condition removal and everything. I just think it is absolutely a fantastic setup, and I really wish I could test this out with 5 warriors. I unfortunately don't know any other warrior mains, so it's going to be kind of a challenge. But I think it would work well. If you have any questions about this, if you think maybe another build would work instead of something else, let me know. For example, if you think, like if you would like to try my Dolyak build with this, or if you've got another build that you think would work better than this, or if you think would work better than my dual axis build, or if you don't think that the Condi DPS is needed, or something like that, then yeah, then let me know. Suggest something. I'd be happy to hear your suggestions. So yeah, that's basically going to be it. Also, just a small reminder that 3 of these warriors have battle standard, 3 of them, and 1 of them is applying regeneration with the battle standard. So 3 insta revives, very useful, very, very powerful. I just wanted to add that. So if you actually time it right, like if you're actually able to time it a lot, then you could potentially have an auto revive, just insta revive every 80 seconds, which would be so cool, because just every time on cooldown. but hopefully you won't need that many, because hopefully the support and heal warrior are doing their job already. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I have spent, I don't even know how long in this video, but I really wanted to talk about that. I was just so inspired today when I was thinking about all the different gear that you could do. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this kind of sparked some ideas, and for the warrior mains out there, I really hope that that you enjoyed this. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.